There's a Jacksonville sheriff office dispatcher named Scott Matthew Yotka. Let me tell you about this fellow. He has now been indicted for producing child pornography. A federal grand jury has returned an indictment charging Scott Matthew Yotka, 47 of Jacksonville, with producing and distributing, get this, materials depicting young children being sexually abused. Yotka faces a minimum mandatory sentence of 15 years and up to 80 years in federal prison and a potential life term of supervised release. Yotka was arrested at his residence by FBI agents September 17th, 2021, and is currently detained awaiting trial. So they got a true bill on this guy. Grand jury comes back, says this individual who has a significant position of public trust engaged in this kind of activity. Now, here's the background. According to court documents, on September 15th, 2021, Yotka, using the name Scott and Jax 44, utilized a particular social media application to engage in online private conversations with an undercover FBI task force officer in Washington, D.C., who was posing as the parent of a child. Yotka and the undercover officer discussed in detail the sexual exploitation of children. Now, I want to remind you, this person works for the sheriff's office. This person has a position of public trust. This individual is engaging in this kind of activity freely. The way he got caught was that an FBI agent observing the app saw strange activity and decided to engage. It gets deeper. Yotka stated that he was sexually active with 2 young children, both of whom were unable to talk. Yotka sent the undercover officer several photos and a video that depicted 2 children being sexually abused. Yotka also stated that he was employed as an emergency dispatcher and worked 12-hour shifts. True statement, by the way. Stephen Norton. Now, I want to bring this to your attention because it's important to note people like this routinely seek position of trust or positions of trust to do exactly what they're doing. So here's what forensic psychologist Stephen Norton said. Such shocking revelations about people in society considered to have high standing should not be such a surprise. They like that standing, being publicly this good person and in private this deviant person. They like the idea of that balance, he says. But some people, particularly those in good standing, they have this idea they can fool people and get away with these really bad things and nobody would suspect them, and that's part of the drive also. This piece of you-know-what has been indicted. The forensic psychologist was absolutely correct. And I highlight this story to remind everyone that monsters like this in the world, they do not necessarily have a political affiliation or particular religion or racial background. These monsters can come in different shapes and sizes, different packages, and many of them intentionally engage and try to become people in positions of public trust in order to get away with their evil. Every parent, every person that mentors youth, make sure you are vigilant about people like this. I have highlighted multiple stories on this show alone of those who work in law enforcement who are engaging in sex with children. They are pedophiles. Jordan, not the first time, won't be the last time. But when it comes across my desk, it will be highlighted every time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising. I mean, you have stories constantly about abusers in police departments or stats about how I saw recently this week an estimated 40% of cops are engaged in some sort of domestic violence or domestic abuse. Wow. I mean, like you pointed out, people who behave that way and have that kind of pathology seek those types of positions because who's going to hold them accountable? It's all handled internally. You mentioned in the last story, it's going to be up for review. That's laughable. Just as a personal anecdote, I had a buddy last week or a couple weeks ago at a concert in Alabama, was kicked in the head by a cop, and the response was, "Oh, we'll investigate it internally." What's there to find? It's not surprising.
Yeah, very sad, and that's why we need the George Floyd Policing and Accountability Act. We need true transparency, and we need replacement, reimagining of police agencies across the country.